Good morning in New York, good afternoon in New York, North America and Canada's East Coast, Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Good morning in Arizona, California. Good evening in Ukraine, Rwanda, and Iraq. And welcome whatever time of day or night for all who are joining us from all corners of the world. I'm Yael Danieli, founder and executive director of the International Center for MultiGenerational Legacies of Trauma, ICMGLT for short. Thank you for joining our webinar, Women and Girls Transform Violent Victimization into Community Leadership. This International Center for Multi-Generational Legacies of Trauma webinar is held in anticipation of November 25, the International Day, and the following 16 days of activism for the elimination of violence against women, remaining one of the most prevalent and pervasive human rights violations in the world. Globally, an estimated 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subjected to physical or sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner sexual violence, or both, at least once in their lifetime. This scourge has been intensified in different settings, including the workplace and online spaces, and has been exacerbated by post-pandemic effects, conflicts, and climate change. But alarmingly, just 5% of government aid is focused on tackling violence against women and girls, and less than 0.2% is directed to its prevention. Today's international panel members who rose to leadership in their traumatized communities will share their own post-trauma journeys, trauma and post-trauma journeys, challenges they have been facing along the way, lessons learned, and recommendations for future community leaders. This webinar would not have happened without the ongoing dedication of 4 of ICMGLT's working groups, namely our Yazidi working group, Haiti working group, Ukraine working group, and Rwanda working group. Thank you so much. We would also like to acknowledge our excellent English to Arabic and English to Ukrainian interpreters. They are now family members. Your moderator, I am a clinical psychologist, traumatologist, victimologist, and psychohistorian. I have devoted much of my career to studying, treating, writing about, and preventing lifelong and multi-generational impacts of massive trauma, to ensuring victims' rights, to the rights of future generations, and to reparative justice. My concept of psychohistory views history not only as a series of dates and events, but as we live it, as we live it today, shaping and guiding the meanings of our lives. Today's first speaker, a Yazidi woman from Sinjar with a degree in civil engineering. After the 2014 genocide, Amelda Kundida transitioned to humanitarian work, collaborating with organizations to support survivors and communities affected by ISIS. She has advocated for victim survivors' rights in conferences across Iraq, aiming to secure their rightful support. Her focus is on empowering women and addressing their unique challenges in crisis zones, striving for positive, sustainable change in society. Today's second speaker, Altagracia Jean Joseph, was born in the Dominican Republic to imported laborer Haitian parents whose children's DR citizenships were retroactively permanently annulled in 2013, going back to 1929. A human rights activist and lawyer, Altagracia has been a passionate advocate for the safety, rights, and dignity of individuals of Haitian descent, Haitian migrants residing in the Dominican Republic, focusing on women victimized by violence. She tirelessly works to address the challenges they face and to promote their well-being within the broader society. Our third speaker, Ludmila Husseinova. In 2019, Ludmila was arrested by Russian authorities for her pro-Ukrainian positions and spent over 3 years in captivity. In 2021, while in prison, she was awarded the National Award, the Ukrainian National Award for personal contribution to the protection of human rights and the human rights movement in Ukraine. Released in October 17, 2022, in a major exchange of prisoners between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. Today, she is active in a movement to protect and support Ukrainian victim survivors of conflict-related sexual violence and women who are still suffering in Russian captivity. Last but not least is Consolé Nishimwe, a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, author and motivational speaker. Consolé is a committed speaker on the genocide, defender of human rights, and an advocate for other genocide survivors. In 2012, she released her memoir, Tested to the Limit, a genocide survivor story of pain, resilience, and hope. Consolé has appeared as a panelist in educational institutions, faith-based communities, conferences, and at the United Nations, where she also addressed the UN General Assembly during Kwibuka 24 this year. We have an hour and a half for the webinar with these amazing women. Each of our panelists will speak for about 8 minutes. Following an interchange among us, I will open the floor to questions or brief comments from the virtual audience. We will then conclude with last words, so their message to leave with you. Please use the Q&A or chat functions, and we'll do our best to respond to as many questions and brief comments as we can. Please feel free to direct your questions to a particular panelist or to the full panel. Now I have the profound pleasure to begin this webinar, to offer the screen to Amelda Kundida. Dear Amelda, the floor or the screen is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Danieli. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk on this webinar, and thank you everyone for attending this webinar.
Slower.
Thank you, dear. My name is Amilda Ismail Khadida. I'm a Yazidi woman from Iraq, specifically from Sinjar, and today I'm going to talk about the Yazidi survivors and the powers. And their powers. Let me share my screen with you so you can see what I prepared for today. So today I'm going to talk about rising from victimhood to community leadership. Yazidi female children become empowered women and leading global efforts towards supporting the Yazidis and other minorities in Iraq and in Middle East in general. So if I give an introduction about the Yazidi community, before 2014, the Yazidi community was very traditional, peaceful, simple community. Women took care of their families and homes and sometimes went to school. Life was very, very simple, and Yazidi really liked that simple life. But unfortunately, things changed in a very terrible way after 3rd August 2014, when ISIS attacked the Yazidi community. They kidnapped women, children, kill men. They used the children as a war weapon. They used them for militarization purposes, and they brainwashed them. And for the women, they commit all the atrocities, all the kind of atrocities against them. They slave them, they sell them, and they commit many, many other horrible things toward women. But the community was deeply hurt and needed to rebuild. And in this pain, what the Yazidi survivors and the Yazidi women did, they become leaders. Women like Nadia Murad, Farida Abbas, Hala Safil, Shirin Khairo, Salwa, Nisreen, Sarab, Adiba, and many, many other strong and great women survivors turned their suffering into action, speaking up for justice. Many women now lead their communities, inspiring others and changing how people see women's role. Yazidi women's lives changed from simple life to achieving incredible milestones. They won Nobel Prizes, advocated internationally and nationally for their rights, and again, a recognition of the genocide for the Yazidi genocide from many, many countries. And all of this happened because of the effort that the Yazidi survivors and the Yazidi women did for the advocacy side. Beyond that, they also secured their rights for themselves, and also they advocate and fight for the other survivors from other minorities who didn't have the power to speak, or because they belong to communities that didn't let them to show the things that they went through. So what the Yazidi survivors did, they advocate for a law called the Yazidi survivors a law, and they make sure all the survivors from all the minorities who went through the same atrocities in Iraq because of ISIS to get a benefit of this law. And it was such an amazing thing to fight for yourself and to have this power to fight for yourself and to fight for others. And now, if we talk about transforming from victimhood to leadership, Yazidi women decided not to use victims and not to stay victims, but become leaders. Once one survivor said, seeing yourself as victim makes you weak, but seeing yourself strong gives you the power. And this is exactly what the Yazidi women did, what the Yazidi survivors did. They share their stories in a bravery and honesty. These stories show the truth about what happened and the failure to protect them. And they played crucial role in documenting what happened and letting others know about what happened to them. They raised awareness in the world to know what happened to the Yazidi community and to the other communities in Iraq because of ISIS attack. Now, if we talk about leadership starts with inner strength. The women, the Yazidi women, use their inner strength. They become the voice of their community and they lead it. The Yazidi women overcome their fears, share their stories, and spoke on global stages, even when it was dangerous for them. They never stopped, and even after 10 years of the genocide, they still continue their effort, and they are continue the advocacy for their community and for their selves. Their courage was not only for themselves, as I mentioned, it was for everyone, for the community, for the other survivors who cannot talk, who cannot speak up. The survivors create new norms of Yazidi culture because many survivors share their stories. They give the courage and break silence inside the community and inspired others to share their struggles. Support and what happened in the Yazidi community, that the Yazidi survivors get the support of young people to reduce the shame and the stigma, and that helped to start conversation. And also we should not forget the role of the Yazidis who live abroad and help the survivors to share their voice, to share this voice internationally and change how people see survivors and women rules. And for the very first time in the Yazidi community, after going through 74 genocides, the Yazidi religious authorities and religious leaders and Baba Sheikh decide to have those survivors again as a part, as a strong part, as a part that we proud of, and prepare special events and in Lalish, which is the place, the holy place for the Yazidis, and they honor them. And this thing is continuous until now. And this is something that really helped the survivors and the Yazidi women to speak up and to become strong in their community. Even the advocacy effort, like helped free captives and giving survivors the help of the help they needed, bringing the community together again. Now, if we talk about achieving justice, the survivors achieved justice through peaceful advocacy. The Yazidi women, the Yazidi survivors used peaceful ways to ask for justice and change. They worked for better condition incomes, justice for the guilty, and rights for all the survivors. They worked to find missing peoples with the Iraqi government and with other governments. They worked with UNITAD and other parties to open the mass graves, to recognize those remains, to bring the peace to the victim's family. It's a very hard thing, but they did it. They did all those hard things with all the hard things that they went through. They did it in a peaceful way, and it's really like it's get a great impact. And one of the most biggest impact, as I mentioned, it was the Yazidi survivors' love. Their efforts show the pact action of bringing real change by using peaceful advocacy. In conclusion, if we look at the Yazidi women, the Yazidi survivors, they have shown strength and leadership, being hope for their community and the world. They become the hope for the survivors who cannot talk, who cannot share their stories, who cannot ask for their rights. Like the Yazidi women, like really, like they use their inner strength in the very perfect way to support a whole community. A community went through a genocide, and their stories teach us that even in hard times, there is a hope. There is a way to start again. There is a way to build our lives again, to stand against those atrocities, to make sure these atrocities will never happen again, will never repeat it to anyone. So in these days, let us celebrate the Yazidi women's achievement and support them in ending violence against women. And also we should not forget supporting the other women who are fighting for the rights of the women around the world. Who are fighting to make sure that any women will not go through those atrocities that the Yazidi women went through. No one deserves this, and we should work together as women, as communities, to make sure those kind of atrocities will never happen again. Together we can create a better world, a better, fairer future. So let's work together, and we should never stop. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Dr. Danieli, and thank you very much once again for all the people who attend this webinar.
Thank you, dear Amelda. Exactly. You almost began with the message of the end.
Yes, I did. I believe that I will do it, but thank you.
That we would. And You remind me that this is why we are doing this webinar, is 4 different horrible humanities events to say what women can do, what, right? They're not only victims, they can lift up their societies. God bless you for the message. And Altagracia, please unmute, because now it's your time. Go ahead. We're waiting for your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm like a little bit like, oh, so excited because I'm reading the chat. That's the reason why I'm close my camera to read the chat. And I just want to say hi to all the people, whatever you are. And I feel like, okay, we have to keep doing it. And probably we're just trying to survive day to day, but we are trying in this way, trying to survive. We are building hope for the little girls in our communities. And I guess that's the moment when I say I'm so glad and so grateful for the internet and the
Yes, this is wonderful.
connection that we can do it and we can be in this space and we can share different kind of experience. And that I have to say about our topic of this conference is that probably I'm supposed to write a presentation too, but I guess when we are in this kind of space, I guess it's better when you speak from the deep of yourself, not just because you have to write, just to try to connect with the family, whatever you are. We are family because we are probably don't speak the same language, probably don't live the same neighborhood or the same environment, but we are living the same pain. And I will say that I say in the connection test that probably we don't decide to be leaders. We just don't have no option, no way. And when we say, okay, I can't give up and I have to keep walking, and that's keep walking, we keep walking become leadership. And that's leadership, it's something sometimes beautiful for other. And what that mean in the life was living it, how many trauma we are living and how many trauma we are holding with the leadership name with. And okay, I guess the most important is not being the victim. Not because we are not victim, it's just because we have to keep fighting, and we should to stand up behind all the hard situation that we're facing as Haitian descendant in the Dominican Republic. Black women are supposed to be fine in a Black country, but it's not the reality. And when you have to wake up daily being afraid to get into the street because you don't know when someone can deport you, and you to a country when you don't know anything and you don't know nobody and you don't know where to go, I guess that's enough trauma. But when you have to deal with violence in the system justice, sometime in the health system, in the education system, and you have to deal with that day to day, and you have to see it in your cousin, in your sister, in your mother, and your auntie, even in your little friend or neighbor. Probably when you are into the situation, it's not a trauma. But when you have to get out and speak with different other people, you can see, wow, it is. But I have no option. I know it can be a trauma. I know the situation is hard, but we have to keep walking. Dr. Daniel was speaking about different kind of violence. and I have to deal and live with all of them daily. As a lawyer, as human rights defender and activist, and as a Black woman in a racist context and an anti-Blackness context, but anti-Haitian context. So when you are women, you probably have the tag when it say like, okay, she is a believer and she burned to live violent situation. And you have to decide, I will be the victim or I would be just stand up and keep fighting against all of them. And I can say something easy, but I decided for me, for my community, for my grandkids in the future, for my niece, and I'm very proud of my niece said, I'm not gonna do that. If you don't want, I'm gonna call my auntie. So for me, it's important be this auntie who can defend his niece. It's important be this neighbor a little girl can call, okay, mom, I don't want to do that, but if you force me, I'm gonna call my neighbor Altagracia. So for me, that means something. Not the rebellion at the moment, it's the hope in the future to know always, always, we have just a little light, a hope. You can find someone, someplace, somewhere, some institution, even some church, but one space when you can feel comfortable, when you can feel safe. And I guess it's that we need to build a space when the girls and the women can feel safe, because it looked like this war is just men against women day to day, every moment. And we as women who decide do something against that situation and that system, I guess that's the value of this conference. Even though we don't have the same language, even though we are not in the same region, we have to fight together. We have to work together. Probably not in the same way, because we are not in the same context, but we have to work together. We have to support each other, and this feeling trying to share in our community. And remember, we have a lot of trauma in our ancestors, and we have a lot now, and we have to build a way to live less trauma for our next generation, and to try to live the best as possible with all the trauma we get from our ancestors and with all the trauma we are living nowadays. Not to be victim, no. And not always to be leader, because we not gonna ask all the women, you have to be leader and you have to face all the situation we are facing as a leader. No, because it's not easy. We just want you wherever you are in the world now. If you are hearing this presentation, that I will ask you is take your own life, your own case. Be your own lawyer. Be your own leader. Not to us, for you and the next generation. If you live a good life, I guess we all are safe, and we will feel we pair with that, and that we do daily in our context, in our community. It's something important, and that will make the price we pay to hold the name of leaders in our community just matter. Thank you.
I was glancing at the chat for a moment and just realized that how many people from how many countries we have. So your messages are absolutely being conveyed worldwide. I'm so deeply proud. Thank you, Altagracia, for your message. And next, please, Ludmila, who is already known as a heroine publicly. The floor is yours, please. Just so people know, Ludmila will speak Ukrainian, and we have the interpretation available. So those of you who didn't do that yet, go to the More button, the three dots, click, roll down to interpretation, and choose whatever your language, either Arabic or English, please. So we can learn with what I anticipate with great enthusiasm. We learn from Ludmila. Ludmila, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Daniele. I hope that everybody understand me and there is translation. Well, the translation is there. I was inspired by the speeches I have heard a moment ago. And Nadia Murat visited Kiev, and we had a meeting. It was a very short meeting, but we had an opportunity to see each other, to hug each other. And this really gives us strength, and we make sure that we do the correct things, the right things. It is difficult for me to talk about my experience, and a lot of women know what it means and what it feels. And I would like to tell you that things which are happening in Ukraine now are absolutely awful. And that we are in this situation since 2014. And at present, I have an opportunity to be the voice of those women who actually were deprived of the opportunity to speak. And they are imprisoned in the prisons of Russia, and they are being tortured now while we are speaking here. I cannot say that I am a heroine, and I don't want to tell that I am a fighter, but I can tell you that I am really resilient. Within 3 years of tortures, they were not able to break my backbone because I was tortured for 3 years, but I became even stronger if I, in comparison with what I was before. And I have a huge desire now to ask all of you, because I lack my strength of my voice. I cannot speak for the woman, for the thousands of women who at present are being tortured by Russians in prisons. I know that they are in danger, and my voice is not sufficient to talk about them. Please talk about that. A month ago, we heard a awful news. A young woman, 28 years old, a journalist, Victoria Rushchina, she was tortured to death. She was killed in prison. I know what she went through. And we wrote a letter, and we hoped that she will receive this letter before the New Year Eve. But I don't know whether she has read the letter of support which we sent her, if she ever got it. And I would like all those women to survive. And well, there are women who are in prison, who were in prison since 2019, and they live through tortures for 5 years daily. It is impossible to imagine what Russian prison is. I'm going to tell you in a nutshell. I spent 3 years and 13 days there, and I not a single time was let out of the cell. I could not breathe the fresh air. Not a single time I've seen the sky. They did not allow me to meet my relatives. I was not getting any medical assistance, and I was not protected, and I did not have any representative of my interests in the legal area, because the lawyer, who was a lawyer, came to me once in 3 months. He said, I won't be able to help you, and agree to all the accusations you have. And I was trialed without my presence. It was done by the so-called Supreme Court, and they gave me a ruling that because now there is a moratorium for the death sentence for the women, we are not going to judge you. We are going to wait when this moratorium is canceled, and then we will try you so that you can get a death sentence. And I know that the children of these women are at home. Natalka Vlasova has a 2-year-old child. She was arrested in 2019. She is still there for 5 and 6 years. She has never seen her child. And during this period, the child forgets its mother. And this is another awful punishment for the children. It is even more awful than rape and battering and beating every day. And the woman cannot see the way her child is growing. I know a woman whom I met in a cell in a prison personally. After 3 years of tortures, was let to go home. When she was arrested, her son was 4 years old, and in 3 years time, she went to hug her son. But the son was scared. He said, I don't know this woman. I don't know her. The child started to cry. And this was even worse than the tortures she lived through. And we are talking about these examples, and they are unfortunately numerous. It's going on. And we have to discuss how to prevent all these things. We know how to help those women who are at present are free next to their relatives. We are providing psychological support to these women. We are talking to them and we help them. And how can we help those who are imprisoned? And what should we do not to let them torturing women like that in the future? We have to resolve this problem, and we won't be able to resolve this problem. We will be if we are not united in this struggle. And you are trying to fight these problems in Iraq, in Syria, in Iran, but we have to really work together. We have to develop a program of joint action to overcome these difficulties. But I think we have to yell not only about our pain, but also the pain of our sisters. We have to do on the global level to punish those perpetrators. We are not afraid to talk openly about them. And why are we afraid to demand that these people are punished? When you were talking, I would like to share the idea. Let us create a virtual blame board, and we will talk about these people, so that these people who do it to women has to be placed on this virtual shame board with the photograph or with their names, so that their children, their grandchildren would know what their fathers, husbands, grandfathers were doing. And this will a global initiative, so that globally we will shame those people. We can do it. We are capable of doing it now, and let us do it together. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're so right. And part of you remember during our rehearsal, if you permit me to share with the audience, we actually literally decided to begin a women's working group, to begin working together to fulfill these goals, to meet these challenges, because only together it will work. So before Consolee, dear Consolee speaks, actually this webinar very much with Consolee reminds me of the meeting in 2001 of all genocide survivors in Rwanda. We called it Life After Death, not me, the Rwandan Ibuka, the organizing survivors organization. I had the honor of being the international president, but they called it Life After Death, Challenges and Opportunities. And this small webinar reminds me of that whole week meeting. And I hope we continue exactly with that legacy. And Consolee, please unmute, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniele, for inviting me here. I'm truly, truly honored to be part of this webinar. And my sisters here, for sharing your work and your story. I feel so empowered and encouraged more to continue speaking out, to continue doing what I'm doing. So to help our sisters, what they are going through and the pain and the suffering they are going through. So that's why I also want to thank Dr. Daniele for the work you've done to help our communities and through this healing journey. So which you have seen a lot of how women have been suffered a lot in everything we have gone through as a survivor of the genocide, as a woman, young survivor of the genocide. I know firsthand what it feels like to live with the pain and suffering and to live with that pain and how hard it is to speak about it. So for me, my journey, I've been one of the survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi who suffered the rape during the genocide. So I was 14 years old and I had to live with that painful experience at a young age and have seen many fellow survivors who have gone through a lot of pain like that, like myself, even more extreme pain that I've gone through. So, and at that young age, being raped and now have to live with the consequences of what I have gone through, which is I live with HIV as a result of what I have suffered at that time. And many of my fellow survivors live with that too. They live with HIV. They live with other consequences because of the torture, the rape. The way the rape have happened during the genocide, it was in a most horrible way, and where women have been, even babies, removed from their wombs and being tortured in a most horrible way. Some of them have been raped by a gang rape, and held by gang rapes like what we have heard in many other places like Iraq and with the Yazidi women. So and how the torture women had to go through. Even little girls have had to go through that pain and suffering because rape was used as a weapon to dehumanize women, to humiliate women. So, and some of them, after being raped and tortured, some of them have been killed because some of them died right after being tortured. So, and these are voices of women we need to speak about. We need to talk about, because nobody's going to that's why I speak also. That's why I use my voice. I speak on behalf of for those who are no longer here, those who are, because people need to know what we have gone through, what we have suffered. And still, right now, we are hearing stories. It's still happening around the world. So, and it's so painful as somebody who have gone through this pain, to hear there's a girl somewhere who is suffering the same way we have suffered. And when we are still also in a healing journey, like Dr. Danielle said, there have been so much work with the women organization like Avega Gahozo. If you go to Avega Gahozo, it's a women organization where they have so many stories of women who have endured a lot of pain. They have helped them through the, medical issues like getting HIV medication, or those who have had children from rape. As you can imagine, a mother having a child from rape. Also, it's traumatic. Also, the trauma, the child lives with the trauma, and the mother lives with the trauma. So it's a lot to bear. So and also for those who probably never, even now, 30 years later, who are not even leaving their home. Some of them stay in their bed because of how physically they were tortured during at the time of rape. And then they had to live with the psychological trauma at the same time. Imagine that. So, and there are other women now, when I started speaking out, some of them who talked to me, who told me their stories, who told me that I've helped them to be able to share their stories. Because for someone who don't know, rape is really a painful thing that it's not easy for women to talk about. And being able to share your story, it takes a lot of courage, because there's a stigma attached to rape, your society, your people around you. So sometimes as a woman, you feel like you're the one who has to carry that shame instead of the perpetrator. Like she said, the perpetrators should be the ones to carry that shame, not us survivors. So, and that's why I feel like collectively, as women, wherever we are, that's why I feel like this is important webinar, to be able to continue speaking on behalf of our fellow, sisters, and also to make sure these heinous crimes should not keep happening anywhere in the world. Because even those who have gone through pain, even in Rwanda, we are still in the journey of healing. There's still counseling organization like the Daniele, helping so many of them, like many others who have been able to help through, many of them who are still going through psychological treatment. And because trauma, it takes a lot to heal. It takes a long time to heal. So when I took it upon myself, it was for my healing journey, and also to be able to be there for others who don't even have the voice like myself. So I feel like I connect with sisters all over the world, like sisters in Ukraine, Yazidi in Iraq, and other places. So I feel like it's together, collectively, let's continue, join, our efforts together, so that we can make sure that our sisters live in a place where there's no violence against them. Because, as we are saying, a woman should not live in fear where they feel like they are going to be violated. We should live in a place, in a world, where we feel like we're, no one is going to do a harmful thing to us. So I feel like, to me, it's a collective effort. So for me, being here, being part of this webinar, and hearing your stories and hearing your work, it encourages me more. And I'm here for anybody, anywhere you are in the world. So know that your sister from Rwanda is there for you. And I'm here, to listen to you. I'm here to be able to be together and work together, and making sure that we create a world where women are living in peace and harmony like anyone else. Because we are mothers, we're daughters, we're sisters, we bring life, you know, we create life. So we should not be violated. We should be protected and like everybody else. So yeah. Thank you.
So much wisdom.
Thank you.
But please, everyone, all of you, including Altagracia, please join us again. And everyone, unmute so we can have the dialogue among us. I'm sure each one of you has something to comment on the other presentation. Please feel free. And Ludmila, please unmute so you can freely join us. Go ahead, Altagracia.
I was listening Consulate, and I was like, okay, now I'm confused. She's speaking about Rwanda or she's speaking about Dominican Republic? With the little difference we have that here we have penalization with the abortion, and even though you're raped, you need to have this baby. If you don't have the baby, you will go in jail to 4 to 10 years. And it's something really hard. We have different cases we are in the court with, because we have women even
Of course.
with the special situations that don't supposed to be pregnant, and the doctor are like, oh, we cannot do anything because you know that's something penalizing for the law, and it's just a baby. But could you imagine women with cerebral palsy will living with a pregnancy who cannot say who is the father of the children? The family don't know how to do, but they have to keep these children with someone they have to take care about it all their life too. But the law don't permit that you can interrupt these pregnancies, you see. And in other side, we have the reality, just our official numbers. They said daily, every 24 hours, a woman, a girl, a lady killed by her ex-husband, a boyfriend, even a pretender have the right, feel with the right to kill a woman and just say like, oh, I just don't want to live with that because she don't want to accept me. And probably tomorrow she will have someone she love, and I don't feel available to live with that. Just kill her, and in some occasion kill themselves too. Every 24 hours. And sometime they kill it, but we even don't know that in the newspaper, because you need a special situation, life condition or situation to be in the newspaper. You're supposed to be professional, you're supposed to have money, preferably white, and or the one who kill you supposed to be an important person. It's supposed to have money, be politician, or an important one in the government. Because if you don't have one of these conditions, you probably don't be available to be on the newspaper. You just die, and one as woman they kill. That's normal. And we are dealing with that daily. And sometimes you have to go to the court with all the proof. And they are like, oh, you think this white man could do that? He don't look that he can do that. You sure he said? You know his family? Have you heard his last name? And you have to live with that as a lawyer, as a woman, and looking into yourself like, okay, I don't have this last name, I don't have this color, skin color, I don't have the money, and you have to ask the judge. So that means if I am in the same situation as I can come here. Oh no, it's not the same. You are a lawyer. You see, it's different. Okay, I think the law is supposed to defend humans, no career, but we have this situation. And sometimes you even have the career, you even have the last name, but you don't have the money or you don't have the political orientation right to defend yourself. So it's something really hard when you hear in other part of the world you have women living with all those kind of trauma, and probably you can have a little help that probably is better in other place, but you can see as counselors say you have to keep walking because you are not in the worst part, and there is more and more and more in harder situation than yours. And we even that have we can speak together. And now today I probably find other sisters I can just leave a message. You know why I don't want to speak with the partner here because they are in the same situation. I want to speak about something. And now I know I can call Dr. Daniel and say, you know, please get me someone. It's the moment. I need a psychologist in this moment. I can do it. But we have people in our community who don't have this email, who don't have this phone. And unfortunately, most of them even don't have our own phone number, even we are in the same country. And so that's the reason why we're supposed to keep talking about. Yes, Consolate, I'm agree with you. It's painful.
Absolutely. And we
All
will
the time you have to speak about trauma. It's painful for you. It's like it's kind of what you write all the situation. You feel the same angry. You feel the same pain. But we have to do it, not to us, to our community.
So, absolutely.
absolutely. Imelda, you had your hand up?
Yeah, like I cannot add more. They
Yes, you
tell
can.
everything. Like it's so hard as Altagracia and Consley mentioned. Like you need to repeat and repeat and say your story again and again to make sure no woman went through it. Like it's very hard to see a woman go through all of those atrocities, and then if she is in a situation that she need to repeat her story and live in that trauma again, just to make sure that no one or other women will not go through it. And we have like this thing in Iraq is continuous. Like for even for the Yazidi survivors law, they need to repeat their stories in each office that they go, just to have their rights, just repeat their stories. There are many situations the survivors, like the government put the survivors in when they talk about what happened to them in a public place. So it's very harmful. It's very like it's making people tired. But this is the only way that you can help and support the others. Like I cannot say how proud I am to see and learn from strong women like you. And I'm a woman from this community, and I know how much it was damaged to us. And it's very hard to see people went through the same thing. And this thing will be continuous if we as women and community members didn't stand against this. So thank you very much for all the amazing work that you are doing, and for all the survivors, for all the people from community who always speak up, even if it's dangerous, even if it's sensitive, even if it's like if you put yourself in a dangerous situation just to protect others. So thank you to all of us, like to all of the women, to all of you. I'm so inspired, and thank you once again.
Good. That's the idea, to be with each other and,
Yes.
and inspire each other. So,
Actually, like
we keep the
being with
inspiration for all
exactly. Yeah, like it's sometimes we are
One time
blessed.
when you sometimes feel like giving up, another one says, "Oh no, it's okay. Let's continue."
Yes.
Uh,
Like you
but
feel
it's
like you are blessed when you see a strong woman who went through all of this atrocity. She's supporting you, and the other feel they are blessed when you see a whole people gather together and fight for the same reason. Like we are blessed, and we to have fighters in those communities who women will never who will never stop fighting to make sure no one will go through the same thing. So yeah, thank you very much.
yeah, that's why Ludmila called it resilience. Absolutely. Ludmila, would you like, please?
Absolutely. I would like to say that it seems to be, we're speaking about different settings, about different circumstances, how that may happen to the women. But basically, the result, the outcome is the same. They have to go through this violence and abuse and humiliation, various types of sexual violence. That's what brings us together. I mentioned that the war here is ongoing. I'm sitting here, and maybe in a minute or in an hour or at night today, there will be another attack, missile attack. In the morning, in the city of Odessa, and there was horrible murder. A missile hit a residential building. Women and children were killed. In the morning, another missile hit another city in Ukraine, Sumy, where also a lot of women and people, including women and children, were killed. And this is horrible situation that is ongoing. We have no access to temporarily occupied territories, and we know that there, in those territories, Russia continues abusing and raping women and children, abusing men. These are facts. But no international mission has access there to those territories. Those women don't have psychological support. Well, they don't even have medical support, medical care. Those women who are in captivity, they don't have hygienic means. I could see girls when they have their periods, they had to take out some very dirty mattresses where there were ticks and insects, and they had to use that dirty stuff for hygienic purposes. Those girls, they lose their health, they lose their opportunity to become mothers after they are liberated because no healthcare is accessible there. They don't give you water. They bring dirty, non-potable water, like 1.5 liters per day. And the woman is supposed to use this water for either washing or drinking if she dares, and that's Europe. That's kind of central country in Central Europe. And this is inhuman treatment of women and girls. Of course, I believe that we will prevail. Of course, I believe that Russia will go away from our land and the land will be liberated. But imagining now, can you imagine these figures? Almost 60,000 civilians are now being illegally captivated and held in captivity in those torture houses and prisons. And imagine how many people are just living in those territories without any possibility, opportunity to flee. That's huge. And of course, the world is very supportive and helping us. But I know that we will have shortage of psychologists after all of that ends, when all of our men and women and children are liberated. This support, psychological support, will be needed by a huge number of people. We very much rely on global experience and knowledge, and that you have been pursuing this cause and that you will be supporting Ukrainian women, children, men. We have something to discuss there. Basically, we have the same enemy here. These are people who believe that sexual violence is a means of warfare. this is something that makes it possible for them to break the spirit of the population, community, children and women, the nation. This is the enemy who dares that. Shall we speak about some particular nationalities? No, I believe this is the enemy who believes that they have they can do that, and that is about impunity. This is what has been going on for centuries, and I believe now it is high time to eradicate that. It's high time to say we are humans. We will not allow others to do that to humans, human beings. And I have this idea with that the board of shame. I believe that this is something that we can do right now, and that's a small step, but further on we need to sit at the table and start speaking about that. We need to develop a strategy. We need to think about some palpable things that we can do.
Yes, one of the first initiatives of the women's group will be to remind the world that the shame belongs to the perpetrator, not to the victim. And of course, it's connected to all the justice of efforts that we work for. And Altagracia spoke from the point of view of the lawyer who is trying to appeal to those courts and what the justice system provides or doesn't provide as means of justice. So there's so many layers for us to work on, right? The shame is the societal layer. The justice is both on international level and national level. It always listening more always reminds me what I always say, that what makes me an expert is that I listen and I learn. And so our job in part indeed is to teach, but also indeed to take care of each other so we can continue that, right? We do have, Consolate, do you want to add something? Because we do have some questions and I want to give the audience their right. Go ahead, Consolate, if you can.
Thank you, Dr. Daniele. Everybody said it perfectly well. One thing probably I can add so that we can hear what everybody else is saying here. So, and I feel like survivor stories must be heard. That's one thing also I want to just to make sure when you hear the story of survivor, you're able to make sure everybody know what's going on. So I think it's important. That's what I wanted to just add. So
absolutely, it's an absolute must, and quite a few people in the chat repeated that.
Yeah,
absolutely. And part of creating a group is indeed to keep giving courage and inspiration and holding each other to keep talking, even when it's horribly painful, which it is. I want to give respect for the people who put the questions. Maybe we can speak some more. So there's a question from Dr. Irina Frankova, who is the chair of our Ukraine working group, the centers. And she's saying, during your journey as women leaders, what have you learned and willing to share with those who are making the first steps as leaders? Go ahead, Consuelo, you're muted. I see Alejandra, go ahead, Altagracia, you speak. But you must unmute, please.
I guess one of things that I learned is like, if you do something with the pain, it will be there. If you don't do anything with the pain, it will be there. So that I learned in this process is use the pain as a gasoline to walk into the situation, because sometimes the only thing you have, the only hammer you have at this point is the pain, and you have to choose: live quiet and silent with this pain and other, or use this pain to walk into the other situations. And sometimes you only have to take the pain and walk into the life with the pain, and you will use this pain to shake others. Like, okay, I live that and don't want anymore. I will live with this pain as my don't laugh, it's the truth. So you're sure, okay, I can change it, but I will use it to try to face other situations. And the other important thing I learned in this way is the people. Sometimes you need to connect with people who made the same you made around the world, whatever. Sometimes someone far away, but you need to know there is someone else. You are not alone. That can you can you can live with that, knowing there is someone else outside. And you have to teach yourself and say, you know why, Altagracia, you can't give up now. Because if you give up now, you will live Consolate alone. You will leave Imelda alone. So you have to keep doing it. And sometimes you just have that. You have to do it because you know someone else need you. And sometimes you have to do it because you don't have any other option. You have to. Not because you can. It's because if you get back, it will be hard. And you have to keep walking in front. That's my own experience. I don't know, girls.
Imelda, it looks like you want to speak, but you have to unmute.
I was listening to Altagracia, like, oh my gosh, we should talk about pain. Like, it's true, the Yazidi community fight the genocide by the education. Like, there are many ways to fight the genocide and to stand against this terrible thing. So education is one of the weapons. Like, Yazidi doesn't have weapons, but the weapon they use it is to educate themselves. And it's truly changed, like, the whole situation. Now we have hundreds of students, and before we didn't have 10 or 30 teachers. Now we have doctors, engineers, and they are all fighting together, like fighting on the same side against what happened. Like, and when I was listening to Altagracia, and like how you can change everything with only the pain, and this is exactly what my community did. Like, it's very inspiring, like going through the same things, even if you are from different communities and from different countries.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm listening to you, and you have figured out in this webinar the three main ways of responding to trauma, right? To be a victim, to be a fighter,
Yeah.
and to remain numb, right? Because we do know people who have beaten so badly that they don't find in themselves either the energy or the capacity or the support around it to lift themselves up, to walk, to fight. So we know that too. And we all have to remember that we need to be there for them too, not just to talk about, indeed, about the heroes. So that's what the heroes are for. But there is a question here that maybe it's an information question, so I would like you to attend to it. If the perpetrator is always a man, or if women are also playing a role in these crimes. From your own experience, what can please answer if you want to? Ludmila, what in your experience?
Так, добре. Більшою
Yes. Mostly these are men, obviously, but there are cases where sexualized violence is committed in Russian prisons by women. They are there. That happens. Those are horrible stories, and it gives me disgust to even think about that, but that happens. That is not discussed widely. That is not often mentioned by women who were tortured by women. And the more so, well, I don't know if men will ever be ready to speak about these situations, because they also may fall victims of this treatment. But mostly perpetrators are men, and this is about violent rape and very violent and cruel sexualized violence. That's not only about physical violence, that also is about psychological violence, which adds up to that trauma, and that results in a lot of pain for men and women, unfortunately.
Yes, and we know that. We know that from the Holocaust too, of course. It's not like women are all angels and men are all devils. It's not, life is not that simple. So, so very important. I'm trying. Go ahead.
I guess it's not men against women. It's something about the system, and as I used to say, it's like our governance system is built by men, and even though the men nowadays could think different, but they are educated in this system. And sometimes you have, when they don't agree with the system, they put a tag like, okay, he's like, oh, you don't look like a real man, because the real men don't supposed to do that. And I guess it's the same machism system, even though it's painful, painful for the men too. They even don't have the opportunity to analyze and see, oh, I can change that. And probably the men who have this mentality want to change can do it, because they don't are in the position, they don't have the money, they don't have the last name, and they don't have the way to make change. So those men who are living the oppression of the system probably are in our side, fighting together with us. And I can say no, we have some men in the fight with us, but is that's one who are living outside the system, and they have all the good way to make changes, but they don't have the way to do it. And I guess one of the most benefit situation for the system is that they put women against men, white against black, rich against poor, and we never work together as a human, as a unity. And we're supposed to be fighting for our own difference, and we don't see what happened exactly, and that make their job so easy. And the other part of the first question I didn't answer is that what the first point make me get to the into leadership. So I guess there is something you just bear with that. You just see, okay, I don't like that. you probably don't have a name for. You probably don't know what is it, but you just know you don't be agree with someone is abused, you don't agree with someone don't have access for medicine, and just you just don't agree with some situation, and you say, okay, I don't know why, but I can't be quiet behind those situations because I can't tell you that, oh, when I was 10, when I was 16, no. Since I remember, I never feel comfortable when I see an injustice. So I can say it was a point because I'm always disagree with that I feel um, can beat someone or that can make you suffer, even though your parent beating you, even though someone making bullying at the school, at the street, whatever. I always like, okay, no, not in front of me. So I can say I'm start when I know I can tell you that publicly I'm start in 2008 publicly, but it was, as I tell you, by something in my own life, in my own family. I just say, okay, I don't will not be quiet. I will speak out to the world. But it's something I used to do always. I just have this opportunity, as I tell, I just take my pen. Oh, I'm not Dominican anymore. I get to show the world what are you doing with me. That's my birth certificate. That's my school certificate. So why I can't be Dominican anymore? How can you change that? But I never know that something like, oh, you are incidents. No, I never know the word incidents. Like 3 years after I learned what meaning. Oh, you are incidents. Oh, sorry, I don't know that.
Yep. So you're saying it's also our character to fight injustice. Well, where is Imelda?
Looks like she left, Dr. Daniele.
How could she have left? Must be a mistake. I, I, I would like to also mention that among our 55 webinars on our website, and this is for you also, if you don't know, there are webinars on sexual violence as a weapon of war. Okay, there are webinars on many of the real. Thank you. Welcome back, Imelda. Many webinars on related issues to what we touched upon today. So please visit them, learn from them, and continue the discussion. Even the next webinar, which will take place next Tuesday, you will all receive the notice. It will be on the intergenerational impacts of the dilemmas of HIV/AIDS, which will be fantastic, I promise you. Of course, it will also include Rwanda and Haiti. Unfortunately, we become experts at all these horrible things, aren't we? Don't we? And for those of you who don't know, when we discussed Rwanda in the past, we used to say that rape and HIV/AIDS was the second and third genocides. So we can continue on that. But I want to, if I may, entertain more of the notion of creating an international women leadership working group. Before that, I think to respect Ludmila's country current suffering we are totally committed to help in every way and hopefully to stop the war and hopefully to get justice for the perpetrator. All suffering is current, right? It doesn't sort of go away. But I want to acknowledge that the danger is imminent, and the same with your people, Altagracia, both in Haiti itself and in the Dominican Republic. It's current. So there's so many tasks we have. I want to read to you a lovely question from Tara Rayner O'Grady. Tara, are you still here? Maybe she can say it in her own language. Robbie, is Tara Rayner O'Grady still here? Oh, yes, go ahead. Tara, speak for yourself. You don't need me to speak for you.
Okay, Dr. Daniele.
Yes, we all
Right.
hear.
Fantastic, thank you. And let me just get my glasses back on. I said we should indeed launch an intercultural, transnational sisterhood for survivors and women at risk. This is a pan-generational issue. We could host monthly forums and use all of the social media platforms. It is not good enough that little girls are brought up to expect to be violated and abused. We cannot protect each other without each other. And I said that, Yael, you have the capacity to launch an inclusive initiative. And I propose that we all become interconnected and plan to assist against period poverty, infant mortality, birthing care, post-violation and trauma psychological support through very simplified and easy to translate posts and other mechanisms. We are facing a terrible enemy, and our small means of resistance can be very worthwhile. Thank you, Dr. Daniele.
I think that's a perfect way of putting it. That's right. Thank you, Tara. You got yourself a job.
Great, count me in.
This is what's in this center. Every time you have a good idea, you have a job. So, as you said, there's no other option. So, I hate to stop this. This is we are on time. But let's think of it as we began a process. We definitely began the dialogue of creating this kind of, whatever we'll decide how to call it, sisterhood, womanhood, whatever. And we all have a job, a lot of jobs to do here. So I don't know. I want to hug each one of you. So yeah, please, let's each. And our wonderful audience. We have the most engaged audience. Amazing. And I'm so sorry for each one of you who put a question in the chat that we didn't attend to. But again, we are here, we continue. There is Saman, there is a question in Arabic from Shazad Shazad. You see it in the chat, Saman? Saman, are you here? Of course you're here. Well,
yeah, I'm here.
okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Would you please translate?
Of course.
Just
Yeah.
so we know if there's a last minute, easy, brief way to respond. Go ahead, please.
Okay, sure. Well, it's not a question, it's suggestions. So suggestions to address these issues. First, providing comprehensive psychosocial support to survivors and their families, and also, yeah, strengthen economic programs such as vocational training and job creation, and also implementing laws that guarantee survivors' rights and hold perpetrators accountable, and also organizing community awareness, raising campaigns and sessions to reduce social stigma, and also providing specialized healthcare that include mental and physical health, also supporting children born out of abuse or rape in ways that protect their rights and the rights of their mothers. So that's all. So it's mainly questions, not, it's recommendations and suggestions, not questions.
Actually, brilliant. Can you ask Shazad where she or he, Shazad is probably a woman, right? Where are you in Iraq? Are you Yazidi also? Saman? Well, we tried. These are brilliant ideas and we should pursue them. It's part of our large plan. So please, my heart is totally with you and you're in it. And we continue. Thank you so much. You have my deepest admiration and love.
Дякую.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that you are here.
Thank
And
you.
you're here and you're there. Thank you.
Bye-bye.